Long before the streets of modern America filled with pumpkins, costumes, and laughter echoing through the night, there was an ancient world where darkness and light, life and death, were deeply connected. Halloween's roots reach back over 2,000 years to the Celtic festival known as Samhain, celebrated by the people who lived in what is now Ireland, Scotland, and parts of northern France. For the Celts, the year was divided not by months or weeks but by seasons of life, and Samhain marked the end of summer and the beginning of the cold, dark winter. It was believed that on the night of October 31st, the boundary between the living and the dead became thin. Spirits could cross into the mortal world, wandering among people, sometimes bringing messages, sometimes mischief, and sometimes fear. In that ancient time, fire was sacred, and light symbolized protection. As the harvest ended and days grew shorter, Celtic communities would gather to light great bonfires on hilltops. These fires were more than warmth against the cold, they were shields against the unknown forces believed to roam freely on that night. Families extinguished the hearth fires in their homes and later relit them from the sacred communal flame, a symbol of unity and divine blessing. People wore animal skins and masks, not for fun but as disguises to hide from restless spirits. The idea of costumes, which later became playful, began as a means of spiritual defense. Offerings of food and drink were placed outside homes to please wandering souls or to ensure a family's livestock and crops would survive the winter. As centuries passed, the Celts came under the influence of the Roman Empire. With the Romans came new customs, and two of their festivals slowly merged with Samhain. One was Feralia, a day in late October when Romans honored the passing of the dead. The other was a celebration for Pomona, the goddess of fruit and trees, whose symbol was the apple, perhaps the origin of the modern game of bobbing for apples. The blending of these traditions created a rich, multi-layered set of beliefs that began to evolve as Christianity spread through Europe. By the 8th century, the Catholic Church sought to Christianize the pagan festivals that still held strong influence among rural communities. Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as All Saints' Day, a time to honor saints and martyrs. The evening before, October 31st, became known as All Hallows' Eve, eventually shortened to Halloween. The spiritual meaning shifted slightly, but the echoes of the ancient rituals remained. People still believed that on that night, unseen worlds touched each other. The Church encouraged prayer instead of offerings, and parades of saints replaced fire festivals, yet the connection to the supernatural lingered. In medieval Europe, a tradition called souling took shape. On All Hallows' Eve, the poor would visit wealthier homes, offering prayers for the family's departed loved ones in exchange for. As the 20th century unfolded, Halloween began to transform into a uniquely American celebration. The early decades saw small-town gatherings, community games, and autumn-themed parties where children bobbed for apples, shared ghost stories, and paraded in homemade costumes. The air in late October carried the scent of hay, apples, and candle wax, and the rustle of fallen leaves became the soundtrack to one of America's most beloved seasonal rituals. Yet beneath the laughter and mischief, Halloween continued to hold a symbolic weight. It was still a night that connected the living to ancient traditions, reminder that fear could be faced with joy and imagination. During the 1920s and 1930s, Halloween celebrations grew larger. Cities began hosting organized parades, schools held costume contests, and the trick-or-treat tradition took root in American neighborhoods. It was around this time that the term trick-or-treat started to appear in newspapers. The phrase carried a light-hearted threat: children would play tricks if treats weren't given. But communities quickly embraced the idea, realizing that candy and smiles were better than pranks and trouble. The Great Depression, however, added tension to the night. Mischief sometimes turned to vandalism, and for a time, Halloween had a reputation for rowdy behavior. Parents and community leaders responded by promoting wholesome activities, school parties, haunted houses, and neighborhood gatherings, to redirect youthful energy into creativity rather than chaos. The rise of candy companies during this era also played a pivotal role in shaping modern Halloween. Brands like Hershey, Mars, and Nestle saw an opportunity to market small, individually wrapped candies specifically for the holiday. By the 1950s, the tradition of giving candy to trick-or-treaters was deeply established. Children across the United States eagerly planned their costumes and routes, moving from house to house with pillowcases or pumpkin-shaped buckets, shouting the familiar phrase that still echoes every October 31st. Post-World War II America brought prosperity, suburbia, and a sense of community that perfectly suited Halloween's evolution. The new suburban neighborhoods offered safe, walkable streets where children could roam freely. The post-war baby boom filled those neighborhoods with young families, and the annual ritual of trick-or-treating became a cultural norm. Television also began to play a role in shaping the holiday's imagery. Shows like The Addams Family, Bewitched, and It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown gave Halloween a cozy, family-friendly identity, blending humor and fantasy with the mystery of the night. The 1960s and 1970s brought a wave of pop culture that permanently linked Halloween to entertainment. Horror films became a staple of the season, giving rise to icons like Dracula, Frankenstein, and The Mummy, followed by newer legends like Michael Myers from Halloween, Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm. As the 21st century unfolded, Halloween stepped confidently into a new era of global recognition and creative expression. What had once been a Celtic ritual of survival and reverence had transformed into a worldwide festival that celebrated imagination, community, and the thrilling charm of the unknown. In every corner of America, and in many cities around the world, the last days of October became a living canvas painted with orange lights, eerie music, and laughter echoing through the night. The internet age gave Halloween a new stage. Social media, streaming platforms, and digital communities turned it into a visual phenomenon. Every October, timelines filled with costume reveals, pumpkin carvings, makeup transformations, and haunted house experiences shared by millions. The excitement that once belonged to small neighborhoods now traveled instantly across continents, connecting people who might never meet but who felt the same spark of seasonal magic. In the United States, Halloween grew to symbolize more than candy and costumes. It became a shared ritual of belonging. For families, it was a night to walk together, to decorate front porches, and to watch their children's eyes light up beneath masks and painted faces. For teenagers, it was a chance to gather with friends, to feel independent under the streetlights, and to flirt with harmless fear. For adults, it was nostalgia, a chance to relive childhood joy and escape the everyday. The balance between playfulness and eeriness made Halloween unique. It allowed people to acknowledge darkness without despair, to celebrate mystery without danger. Economically, Halloween became one of the most profitable holidays in the American calendar, rivaling Christmas and Valentine's Day. Each year, billions of dollars were spent on costumes, candy, decorations, and entertainment. Entire industries flourished around haunted attractions, film releases, and themed merchandise. Retail stores filled aisles with masks, fog machines, and lights that flickered like ghostly lanterns. Television networks dedicated weeks of programming to horror classics and new thrillers. Film studios timed their releases to capture the season's energy, creating a cycle where art, commerce, and tradition fed one another. Yet for all its commercialization, Halloween retained a deeply personal dimension. People didn't simply consume the holiday, they created it. Every costume, every decorated porch, every carved pumpkin was an act of individual imagination, a personal story added to a collective celebration. The symbolism of Halloween also deepened in modern times. Psychologists and cultural thinkers began to interpret it as a mirror of human psychology, a safe arena for exploring fear, mortality, and identity. By donning a mask, people could confront parts of themselves usually hidden. The monsters and ghosts of Halloween represented not only ancient spirits but also human emotions, insecurity, curiosity, rebellion, wonder. In